fellow geeks, dweebs, nerds, and other unfortunates have been fervently waiting for has finally arrived. It's time for TMI, Confessionals of the Nerd Kind. And now, your hosts, Jeff Nerf Herder Chandler, Jim Kaiju Baker, and Christina Yojimbo Henry. You can continue. And now, let's get on with the show. Here is TMI.
Well, should we get into this? Should we do it?
Yeah, let's do it.
We're all here.
We have been building up to this episode for 2 years since King of the
I'm going to
Monsters.
tell you right now, we're skipping news. There's a handful of little news items. They all suck. I don't give a crap. We just need to start talking about this movie.
So we are talking about Godzilla versus Kong this week and Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein. Two epic matchup type movies.
Who paired that up?
Take a look in the mirror, baby.
I think it was your suggestion. Let's go. Indeed. Oh, yes.
Oh, and Falcon and Winter Soldier, as always.
Yes. And I don't know if anybody even picked up on that, but our third member is back. Welcome, Christina.
I have returned.
You have returned.
Yes.
So
she hasn't had any opportunity to talk Falcon and Winter Soldier yet.
No,
so we don't even know if she's liked it or not.
Or watched it, for that matter.
I watched it.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, that's a screaming review right there. I watched it. So I will say the two of you literally have walked out of the theater for Godzilla versus Kong probably within the last hour and a half, 2 hours.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yes, I walked out an hour ago.
So this is all fresh for you.
Yep.
No
2
notes.
hours ago for me. I saw it the earliest matinee I could get.
So do we want to talk a little bit about theater experience?
Well, I saw mine at the Music Box, as you guys know, and the Music Box has really very strict COVID protocols.
Okay.
So it looked like they sold close to their
Capacity. Yeah.
Like physically put up like.
Yeah, they have like a barrier on the side,
Okay.
and they have like little signs on the seats saying like you can't sit in this seat.
That's
and
interesting because that is not what I experienced at all. But
Yep, mine was the NCG Theater in Kingston, New York, and there were people on the very end of the aisle. For me, I was on one end, and then they were on the opposite end, and there were probably maybe 15 other people in the theater total. So,
and that's a Saturday afternoon or first showing. I actually went on Wednesday opening day, which was a Wednesday, so it is a work day. Most people are working. I went to the Showcase in Cinema Deluxe in White Plains, and I will tell you, reclining seats, you got the little tray, the swivel around. They were at 40% capacity, and there maybe was 30 people in there. I don't know what the capacity of the actual theater was. So I ordered my seat online. You know, you pick it out, and supposedly everything is blocked off. Nothing physically when you get into the theater. But two groups of people came in after me and had seats right next to somebody else. I mean, when I bought my seats online, you know, it made it show like they were going to block off the seats around me, which was fine. But again, you know, I got a family of four. There was a lot of families. I will tell you, there was 4 or 5 families with 4 or 5 people in the group, and then a lot of single guys. So,
yeah, my theater was mostly parents with kids, and I love, especially in a Godzilla movie, I love seeing a new generation watch these things, first of all. But I also love seeing these kids get so into it that if they have to go to the bathroom, they run out of the theater and run back so they don't miss a second.
That's what the popcorn bucket's for. Sorry. I think last week Jim and I basically said that this was going to be foolproof. That didn't matter, that we were going to love it.
This is true. We were going to love it regardless. Now, I know Godzilla King of the Monsters was contentious to a lot of people out there.
Not in my book.
One of whom is on this show.
Yes.
I know. Meanwhile, Jim and I loved it.
Loved it. I am going to lay my cards out on the table. This, as much as I loved Godzilla, King of the Monsters, this was a step up for me. Loved that movie, loved the depiction of all the monsters, including Godzilla, but I think this went into another area. The monarch aspect was kind of played down, and the focus was much more, once you get past the plot points, the focus was much more on the monsters, on the battles, and the characters weren't as distracting, I would say, is a kind thing to say about what was going on in the human world in King of the Monsters. We got Julian Dennison in this.
I was very happy to see Ricky Baker.
Josh, yeah.
Now, we do have Kyle Chandler, and I know how Christina feels about Kyle Chandler, but he is minimal at best.
Correct. To the point where you say, why is he even in this movie?
Just as some continuity, right? You got to have some crossover from King of the Monsters. And we also have Millie Bobby Brown.
Well, we got that with Millie Bobby Brown.
I guess you have to acknowledge that she was, in fact, a minor, and that probably her father would care if she got on a vehicle and went to Hong Kong.
Oh, and went to Hong Kong at 600 miles an hour. Yes. With a strange guy that she was obsessed with listening to his podcast. Mm-hmm. So if there's anybody out there that is obsessed with us and somehow tracks me down to my house, I will take you on an adventure with you and your strange friend.
Don't make promises you can't keep, Jeff.
No. You want to put my cards on the table here, Jim? I was severely let down by this.
You were severely let down, really.
I was. Don't get me wrong. The monster action is phenomenal, but the character stuff I could not get by. The human aspect, the human things that were going on made no freaking sense. And I just sat in the theater afterwards, and I'm just like, I'm going to be that guy now. Because all you want is monster on monster action, and they give you plenty of that. But 3/4 of it is ruined in the trailers. There's nothing that you're seeing on screen that you didn't see in the trailer. They set you up that they're going to create a Mecha King Ghidorah, and then they give you this lame-ass Michael Bay Mechagodzilla.
But wait a second.
Wait a second. Like his design at all.
Before we attack,
you're attacking, and I feel bad.
I liked it way better than King of the Monsters, which I thought was a steaming pile of crap.
Wow. And I'm the opposite. I actually feel that this may be my least favorite in the franchise.
But I still don't think it's as good as Kong Skull Island.
Well, no, I agree.
So let's go back. Now this, I believe in my heart of hearts,
rewind.
This is actually more of a sequel to Kong Skull Island than it is Godzilla.
This is
King
very
of the
Kong-centric.
So if you are Team Godzilla, you may feel slightly gypped, let down, because, okay, so here's the thing, is that I try to not watch any trailers for a movie that I'm really invested in and excited about seeing. I will go as far as to close my eyes in the theater if a trailer comes up.
Yes, and we've made fun of you numerous times, but I think in this regard, it may have benefited you.
But here's the thing, is that because, I do the Twitter thing with TMI, whenever I go on Twitter, my feed pops up, and somebody, and it just happened to be the time that I pulled up Twitter, somebody on my feed had taken a screen grab from the very first trailer, and it must have been maybe a 1-second scene of Mechagodzilla from the street. So I knew months ago that Mechagodzilla was going to be in this.
Yeah, but you also said, I think you complained at Funko.
And then Funko dropped the Mechagodzilla Funko Pop, and I wasn't even looking. I was like on some random Funko website, up it pops. So I knew what it looked like, everything going into it. So I was convinced. So the movie opens with Kong having a siesta on Skull Island.
Somewhere on Skull Island.
Skull Island is now turned into a Monarch Kong, like a viewing facility. It's a zoo.
You realize pretty quickly that he's within a facility. He's trapped. But how did they build this damn thing? Did they wait for him to sleep and then built it around him?
It's like a Truman Show thing where it's like a fake sky and everything. And he wakes up.
Not falling for it.
He wakes up in the morning and he throws a spear made out of a tree into the ceiling, and boom. So it's I know what's going on.
Nice call back to Kong Skull Island with him making those spears out of trees. But so I don't know. So he is now trapped. He's captive on his own home island.
And he's being watched by Monarch. Dr. Eileen Andrews, played by Rebecca Hall.
Right.
But she is on Skull Island monitoring Kong. And we're also introduced to Dr. Nathan Lind, played by Alexander Skarsgård. Skarsgård.
There's 2 A's in there. 3 A's.
I think he's also a Monarch employee, if I'm not mistaken, but he has written a book about the Hollow Earth. And now that I've seen this, you know, it would have been a great pairing, would have been the original Journey to the Center of the Earth, because it's almost the same kind of idea.
Yes, Journey to the Center of the Earth, the Hollow Earth, which was mentioned in Kong Skull Island. So like you said, a lot of these ideas that were thrown out in that movie, you know, that Skull Island was somehow a physical manifestation of Hollow Earth. That was how some of these creatures, especially the skull crawlers, were getting around. Yeah, he was like some kind of an expert who wrote a book on Hollow Earth.
And because of this, he gets a visit from Walter Simmons, who is the head of Apex Cybernetics.
Yeah, a little on the nose right there, huh? Apex, which is kind of like he's like an Elon Musk evil dude with a lot of money.
Like, if you know that like a rich guy shows up with
Right.
an offer
He's
you
got
can't
ulterior
refuse,
motives.
he's always the bad guy.
Who owns his own corporation.
Yeah.
As well.
Listen, John Hammond was not that bad.
But John Hammond also had like a bunch of secret stuff because
I think he actually had his hand involved in growing those skull crawler eggs. Probably that actor's name, Damon
Bashir.
Damien Bashir.
I mean, he's cool. Listen, he's straight up evil. You're like, all right, dude, we know what you're on.
So what brings him to Dr. Nathan Lind is a Godzilla attack at the beginning of the film. Godzilla attacks Apex Cybernetics, and Godzilla is back to being a villain basically at the beginning of the movie. He is like, he's taking names, he's kicking ass, and he blows up Apex Cybernetics. He doesn't care how many humans he kills to do it, apparently.
Right. So much for being our savior at the end of the last movie.
Exactly. So this character of Walter Simmons comes to Dr. Nathan Lind on the pretense that he needs to stop Godzilla. They need to get to the Hollow Earth, and they need to find the life source which powers all of these titans, because they believe the Hollow Earth is not only where the titans that are on Skull Island generate, but all the titans we've seen have originated from this Hollow Earth, and their energy is drawn from whatever source is there in the middle of the planet. So they concoct a scheme to get down there without gravity crushing them, which is what happened to Lynn's brother.
Right, I was gonna say, so Lynn's brother literally died trying to get down this place before he was crushed with this magnetic energy, this gravity force that killed him. But
don't peer too closely at the science.
I know, but I couldn't help it. This is why I hate being this guy, because I nitpicked all of this part. Excuse my French. And like you said, Godzilla shows up. Like, I keep thinking this is not even Godzilla.
Well, that's the thing, is because I knew Mechagodzilla is in this movie, and I'm thinking, brilliant. Okay, that they're going back to the movie we reviewed a few months ago, the original Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, and this is a red herring. We are not looking at the real Godzilla here.
There was something off about this character the whole time, which I don't know if they made his forearms longer, but it just didn't feel Godzilla to me at all. And he was completely devoid of any personality compared to Kong.
Well, the thing is like, for us as primates, we are on some very, very deep level going to be more attracted to Kong, because he's human-like, right? He is more expressive. He uses tools. Like, we just find ourselves.
No. Godzilla is my spirit animal. You can't tell me. But you're right, though, because you find out, and one thing we didn't even talk about was this little girl, Jaya. Is that her name?
Jaya, yes.
Jaya.
I don't know how.
Right. But that she is the last member of the tribe that we saw in Kong Skull Island. They've been completely wiped out in a storm. Kong saved her.
In a storm, really?
Eileen, well, that's what I'm saying. These people,
that's what they say. That's what they say.
Correct. And it's sad, because it was such a great society that they had going. Listen, they worshipped at the feet of Kong or whatever, but they're completely wiped out. She's the last of her species, and this lady Eileen is now her caretaker. And this little girl has a special bond with Kong. And you find out later they speak, because she's deaf. And you find out that they communicate with each other with sign language. So yes, the minute, they do everything in their power to humanize Kong,
Yes.
with being able to communicate. One point, she even says to her quote unquote mom, you know, Kong doesn't like this or whatever. He told me. And she's like, what are you talking about? So
that's
yes,
Kong is
do,
kind of hard to be inconspicuous. So the fact that they've never seen him signing before, and yet they film him 24 hours a day.
Right, in this facility.
But again, this is a Godzilla movie. We can't nitpick this.
No, we're going to nitpick it because I was so...
Going off on what Christina was saying, I think, yes, given the two characters, you would identify more with Kong, but the movie doesn't do Godzilla any favors. Like you said, he is devoid of personality. He is a one-track mind. He's wiping out whatever other apex predator is there.
Right. It's the other characters who have to step in and tell you what his motivations are.
And he's down.
Beginning, we know straight up there's something going on at Apex. And, you know, he's targeting this, especially once he goes to the second facility.
But there was a kind of giddy thrill seeing him as a bad guy. And you've not seen him as a bad guy yet in the Monsterverse. To the point where when they have their first battle, because the idea of Lind is to, in order to get down and find the power source, they need a guide. They need a Titan guide to lead them to the power source in the Hollow Earth, and they nominate Kong. In order to get Kong, cool. there's an opening to the Hollow Earth in Antarctica, and they have to get Kong there via ship. So they have him on this massive, like a military vessel. There's an aircraft carrier that's kind of escorting them, and he's pretty docile. They've got him sedated, but they've got him in chains, and it's the girl that's keeping him from, you know, going nuts.
I think they bought those chains from Carl Denham, by the way.
I think they got them from Dino De Laurentiis, actually. And they're very wary of Godzilla. They want to stay out of his territory as they're traveling the ocean to get down to where they need to bring Kong to, because they don't want to battle. But that's what they get.
That's exactly what they get.
So that's, again, because they were making pains to stay out of Godzilla's territory. So I'm thinking, again, this can't be Godzilla.
Yeah.
But it was.
Yes.
It was.
And I will say that fight is fun. He's jumping. He finally breaks free because Godzilla's kicking his butt. And he's jumping from ship to ship, killing how many people, seeming, you know, drowning their deaths, but to our entertainment. But then they say, oh, hold on. Godzilla is just drawn. Let's just turn off our engines and play dead. It's like, but Godzilla, he's not after the ships. He's after Kong. But by turning off their engines, Godzilla turns around and goes away. Oh, I must have got them.
But Kong also kind of plays dead.
Well, because he got the living crap beat out of him.
It wasn't his element, to be fair. You know, it's like he can't fight in the water.
That was a little fun sequence underwater. So.
But you also got to give it up that they did a very nice Jaws homage as well, with the half battleship, and of course Godzilla's spines. All that was missing was the John Williams. Like you said, it was a fun opening battle, and Godzilla decisively wins it. So chalk one up. But again, at this point, I was still convinced it wasn't Godzilla. And I was a little surprised that they would go there with the character, that they would actually go as far as to make him a villain.
But he's not. He's sensing what's going on at Apex with this Mechagodzilla, and he's just trying to take it out because it's a threat to him.
True, but he did kind of the same thing with the Mutos and Ghidorah in the last one, but still he was Earth's savior in those two movies. He is not that here. No, he is a threat.
Well, it's also played up that these two species have this ancient rivalry. And that's the one thing I will say about these legendary movies. They do a really good job up front in the opening credits with all that like the found footage or like the newspaper clippings and all that stuff that kind of set the stage for this world that we now live in with these Titans. And I think they do a really good job at that.
True.
You know, and I even called it like a year and a half ago. I said, if Legendary wants to promote this movie, throw Kong being hung by a bunch of helicopters and just float him around New York City as a giant air balloon. And that's what we got. And I said, not for a heartbeat do I believe that those helicopters could lift this creature.
The scene of him traveling by boat and then the helicopters were direct references to King Kong versus Godzilla.
To Godzilla, yeah.
Which was nice.
Yes, yeah.
Nice that they went there.
Yeah, there's not as many homages to the past movies like King of Monsters. King of Monsters was just full of Easter eggs, and then we're introduced
when they got to the part where the Ghidorah skull was being used to power the new
Mecha.
My son and I both turned to each other and we were like, Godzilla against Mechagodzilla. Because if you guys remember that from the Millennium series, they used the skeleton of
Yeah,
Godzilla
the original Godzilla, yeah.
to make the new Mechagodzilla, and then that had like a sense memory inside it, which
Yeah.
seems to be what they were implying here.
Yeah, I did get a feeling of Pacific Rim with this as well, that he was cybernetically controlling this thing, which it didn't take much for it to break its lease and be like, all right, I'm setting it now, and I'm just going to do my own thing.
We mentioned this, that we knew going into it that it was going to be like a lean film. This is not a 2.5 hour epic. This is under 2 hours, and once you get past a certain point, it's pretty much all monster on monster action.
Yeah, but you got to get past. So there's a side, you know, we mentioned Millie Bobby Brown's character Madison, and the fact that she's got the side quest going on where, you know, Godzilla attacks the Apex facility, and you find out that she's listening to this Titan podcast where this guy who works in the facility has been like a rat. He knows that something bad is going on. He's reporting it every day on this podcast. And I'm like, first of all, I probably would listen to this ad nauseam. This is exactly up my podcast route. But she's able to figure out immediately where this guy lives. Her and Julian, Dennison show up, knock on his door, and he's like, we need to break back into this facility because I saw something. So you're taking a bunch of underage kids, 2 underage kids who you don't know. They don't know this guy. Let's go break it back into this facility. And we mentioned at the top of the hour. So they end up back in this ship full of eggs that is catapulted to Hong Kong at like 600 plus miles an hour.
Which is like, under the ocean as well.
Right, correct.
So Apex Cybernetics
With
has a
this
direct
super
line with
state-of-the-art,
Hong Kong. Yeah.
You know, this guy's got just cajillion dollars invested in this place. You know, we get these ships, these heaves.
A Humvee.
Basically in space. Yeah. So, and let's take the little kid along with us. Because, we may or may not survive, but if we're all going to die, let's all die together.
Well, they need her, right? They need her to control quote unquote, Kong.
Yeah. Why do we need Kong again? To lead them to this?
To lead them to the energy source.
It was pretty much a straight run. It was just a big hole he fell in. They fell right behind him.
You know what? It would have been fantastic if he actually found family members down there.
You know what he found? He found Middle Earth and Mordor. He goes right through the gates of Mordor. He finds Stormbreaker, and he's like, cool.
The Mines of Moria. That's where Kong used to live back in the day.
Yeah, who built that facility, by the way? Once Kong was down there and he finds this axe weapon type of thing, and it gets powered up, Godzilla, who's now running amok in Hong Kong, immediately senses him and blasts a giant hole through the crust of the earth down to Middle Earth. And you're like, here we go. Godzilla's going to come down, and we're going to have this friggin' epic battle in this -0 gravity. And that never happened.
That did not happen.
It was such a missed opportunity so they're like, oh, look, there's a giant hole that just appeared. Let's go up. They didn't know where it went.
But what was great, though, is that they're both looking at each other from opposite sides of the hole on the different sides of their gravity, and Kong has to make his way out from the middle of miles
separating them. How are they seeing each other?
And they're looking at each other. That's why you like can't think about this stuff too. Yeah. We've said this before. If our 12-year-old selves could have watched this movie,
blown. And I'm mad.
I'm
mad at myself that I picked this apart.
I wouldn't make it past 12. I would be dead as a 12-year-old watching this movie. I would be so excited.
I will say that the monsters are glorious to look at. They are beautifully realized. You don't for a second think that you're looking at little digits and bits in numbers on a computer screen.
Especially Kong. I really have to hand it to them for how they render Kong. And this final battle,
even right in the snow. Go back to when he's in the snow. I mean, that was very well done.
The battle in Hong Kong with all the Dayglow skyscrapers.
Epic. Absolutely epic. Loved it.
It's a violent knockdown, drag out.
Yeah, how many
Kong has the upper hand,
killed?
Godzilla has the upper hand. And then finally Godzilla takes him down at the end of their second battle.
So twice Kong goes down. So we know immediately who the king of monsters is.
The other reason that Godzilla shows up in Hong Kong is not only does he sense that Kong has awakened this life force in the Hollow Earth, but I believe he also senses Mechagodzilla being
Well,
powered
that
up.
was the second Apex, yeah. And that's the other thing too, is that Millie Bobby Brown in this. What was the guy's name?
Bernie.
Bernie. That's right. Oh yeah, when she's looking for him, they go to like one shopkeeper. Is there a guy here who buys like a bunch of Clorox? Oh, you mean Bernie? Yeah, he lives right there. So, anyways, Bernie.
So
yes,
wait, explain that to me. What he did with the bleach? He showers in bleach.
Apparently,
So he can't be tracked.
Yeah, basically to keep off the radar. And if you're a conspiracy theorist that the government's tracking you or whatever, you got to be clean skinned.
Now Bernie was my favorite human character.
He was good. He was good for a couple chuckles.
Yeah.
Oh, this is cybernetic. They're using the skull to control. Like he immediately knew everything. I guess it's like, you throw enough conspiracy theories out there, eventually you got to be right on something. She's now halfway across the world in Hong Kong. Her dad thinks that she's home somewhere in Florida.
Right, and he's texting her like, "Please text me back."
Right. Yeah.
And
then
she
calls
tried
him.
to like keep track of your teenager.
Yeah. No, he was. Yeah, like I said, why he was in this movie, I have no idea. I forgot that he was in Peter Jackson's Kong. He's been in two King Kong movies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
But interestingly, nobody else, I don't think, from King of the Monsters or the original Godzilla made it into this one. None of those Monarch people.
No, but the one kid who was controlling Mechagodzilla, he was the son of the guy that died in. And I only knew that after reading reviews after the fact, or reading. I did not pick up on that when I was watching it.
So as Jeff said before, Mechagodzilla becomes sentient. He breaks free of Serizawa's son and makes his own decisions from that point on. The first thing he does is kill Walter Simmons, and then he breaks out. And after Godzilla beats Kong the second time, Mechagodzilla proceeds to tear Godzilla a new one, dragging his carcass all over Hong Kong.
Like I said, the collateral damage in this fight has got to be in the millions. These poor people.
Now, Godzilla in the past, Mechagodzilla has given him trouble. Don't get me wrong. But I don't think Mechagodzilla has ever been this threatening, this menacing.
He's got all kinds of arsenals. He's got those power jets on his back, so he could lunge forward. He's got the little tail thing that was spinning around.
Usually when Godzilla fights Mechagodzilla, he has to team up with somebody else.
That's true.
He's never able to defeat Mechagodzilla by himself. There's always a team up. My favorite team up is in Giant Monsters All Out Attack. But even if you go back to the original, which we just reviewed recently, he needed King Caesar to take him down.
But did he really need King Caesar? All King Caesar did was give a couple shoulder tackles to him.
You were a Godzilla unapologist.
But anyway, Mechagodzilla really, he paints the town red with Godzilla's body.
I was so turned off by the design of this character.
It is very...
I was not, like I said, Michael Bay. I don't know. It just didn't work for me at all. It just was so goofy looking.
I think they really did try to step away from what had been done before. And it's very boxy. Looks very unwieldy. And it's much bigger than Godzilla is. Yeah. Which is probably a good idea if you're going to build a robot to fight Godzilla, that you want to make it bigger and more powerful. But yes, Godzilla needs Kong's help. And Kong is near death after the result of his battle with Godzilla.
Godzilla's like tearing his toenails right into his chest. And he's giving him that look like, yeah, you're mine.
So you have that classic Kong moment that pretty much happens at the end of every King Kong movie, where you hear his heart beating until it stops.
Yeah.
And they figure they have to use their vehicle that they got down to the Hollow Earth with as a defib machine to get Kong back online.
Horrible cinema CPR. This was right up there. Let's just blow the ship up on his chest, and he'll come back to life.
He does.
Save us all.
They restart his heart. Motley Crue would be proud. And then he knocks his shoulder back into place on a skyscraper before he joins the battle.
Yeah, but the nice thing is that Godzilla realizes that they're now going to have to team up, and he power charges his what is it, an axe? It looks like a Godzilla spine.
I think that's what it's supposed to be.
Tied to like a bone or something.
I think it's like some ancient member of. Now this is the thing, because they did say that this was an ancient rivalry between their two species. Now,
yeah, they just naturally hate each other.
In the last movie, didn't they suggest that the Godzilla that we have now was the same Godzilla from eons ago? That he was going back to his
but we don't know how many billions of years there.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I've wiped huge portions of that movie from my brain, so I don't know.
I will say we didn't even talk about one, because we did encounter in Hollow Earth some other creatures, and they're just variants of the skull crawlers, which everyone refers to them as skull crawlers. But I'm like, how did that get out? And one of them had red wings, which I thought was very Gigan inspired.
Rodan?
Yeah, or Destroyer as well.
Rodan, yeah. But I felt Kong, especially like there are certain scenes where he's on the ship, like his size changes. Like it didn't seem consistent to me. Like there are points where, he's sticking his finger down to touch a little girl, and this thing is just like this massive, and yet somehow she's still in the same frame as him. There was a couple things that just kind of took me out that I was very I don't know. At one point, she even tells him, Godzilla, he's your friend. It's like, how does she know that name?
He's not the enemy.
How does he know who Godzilla even is?
Maybe
sure he probably has a different name for
maybe
him.
She signed the big ugly thing that just kicked your ass. He's your friend. But they didn't want to actually tell you that in the subtitles. Yeah. As Christina was saying, Godzilla needs help to defeat Mechagodzilla, especially here. So Kong picks up his axe. Godzilla supercharges it with his atomic breath. And Kong, like George Washington and the cherry tree, takes down Mechagodzilla in pieces. So Godzilla does take down Kong. Godzilla's almost killed by Mechagodzilla. Then Kong takes out Mechagodzilla. So it all kind of evens out in the end.
And Kong, I did laugh though, because Kong's got like one power move. It's like off the top rope and then go right for the mouth. Like that's like his move.
That's a good move. I mean,
it is a good move, but after a while you're like, oh, I see what you're gonna do.
And Kong, to his credit, stayed away from the atomic breath. He got singed at one point, but he never got a direct blast. So kudos to Kong for staying on his feet.
Kudos to Kong.
That's what I mean. He's a tool user, right? So he uses like the top of a building as a shield at one point.
That's true. Yeah.
Keep that atomic breath off of him.
Yeah. It is big dumb fun, but I still found it kind of.
I can't believe that.
I know. I have to renege on our claim last week that it didn't matter.
That you would like it regardless. You see,
like I said, I'm sitting in the theater and I'm just like, damn it.
Me and my whole family were literally braced for impact because we all hated King of the Monsters.
Right.
So we were all like sort of pleasantly surprised because we were like, this was better than we thought it would be.
I will say that the poster lied. It said one will fall.
He did. He fell twice.
Technically, yes.
Kong fell twice.
They didn't
say at the very end one's laying dead.
So at the end, Godzilla swims off, and then Kong has a new home. He goes down to Hollow Earth, and that's where he lives. And Monarch, they can't leave him alone, apparently. No. So they go down there to watch him.
Which I think is a nice setup. Now, there is no end credit. And apparently I read that Wingard, the director, said that they purposely didn't put an end credit because they wanted to find out what fans wanted. It's like, you're 4 movies into this franchise. We want to see monsters fight monsters. Give me Destroy All Monsters at this point. Where are the other Titans?
I think, to be more honest with us, I think Warner's was worried after the box office performance of King of the Monsters.
Yeah, King of the Monsters.
And they're waiting to see how this does before they commit.
Which is actually apparently, I mean, this is like the first big movie in the theater, so it is doing well.
Yeah, it is. I was just looking at an article before we started to record that it's the top moneymaker of the pandemic so far.
Now, but did it break down HBO? Well, no one's paying for it.
No, but
that's true.
I think theatrically, it's made $29 million since it opened, which compared to the $16 million that Wonder Woman opened with, which is its closest competition so far.
But again, I asked the question: where were all the other Titans? Did Monarch just have them locked up? They were all loose at the end of the last movie.
They got to pay Toho every time they use them.
Well,
so they
that's the other thing. Well, no, because a lot of the well, first of all, the license for Toho expired in 2020, so that's also part of the reason that you're not seeing any teasers for a new movie, because right now they don't even have the rights to make another movie. But most of those creatures, like there was like, you know, we mentioned King Caesar and some of these other, I think Anguirus, they didn't have the rights to some of these monsters. And that's why they created some of these other, like the behemoth that we talked about, you know, the giant mammoth looking thing. So they had to create their own titans, which is cool. But where were
first of all, yes. Yay if the licensing has expired, because then they can revert back to Toho and they can make Shin Godzilla 2, which is all I want from this world.
Yeah.
And
but they can still make their own movies at this point.
Yeah, I wouldn't think that that would prevent them from making.
Apparently, that was the limiting factor and the reason why there was no Shin Godzilla sequel. That was the director said the reason why there won't be a sequel is because Toho is licensing these Godzilla movies out, you know, to this American company, and that was the reason why they didn't make a sequel.
Interesting.
So, second of all, if they're gonna license something, can they license the Godzilla theme? Because I just don't feel right.
No, you're right in that
without
regard.
hearing the Akira Ifukube music.
Well, they did it in the last movie.
I think they
probably
get those hits.
You know, Warner Brothers is probably so nervous. They're like, don't use that music. Don't do anything that they did in King of the Monsters, and then maybe we'll have a hit on it.
Yeah, and meanwhile, the damn Snyder fans over there are not making things any better for us, jerks. We brought this up last episode, which was the fans of Zack Snyder's Justice League are so incensed that that Warner Brothers is not moving forward with a sequel, that they're purposely going out and panning this movie in retaliation. Correct. Roll your eyes. Yeah.
Because it's Warner Brothers.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, we'll show you. The movie wasn't even out yet, and you're telling me it's bad.
And they're leaving 1-star reviews on.
Just for that, I'm gonna go back and watch it again. Now I'm giving it a 6 bucket review. I'm bumping up. Netflix already has a Skull Island animated series in development as well. So there's other stuff coming, but yeah, whether Toho renews the license depends on probably how well this does. I mean, there is potential. Listen, you know, like I said, you get Kong in a Hollow Earth, he finds family, like exactly what you said. You know, you got multiple Kongs going on. Who knows? That the place looked pretty vast to me. Yeah. But to have some kind of a zero gravity fight would just be, to me, would be epic. And to me, in this movie, it was a missed opportunity. You're showing me something I've never seen before, and then not following through on it. Well,
that's where they can go next, right?
Yeah,
that's
and I agree that Hong Kong fight is spectacular. It is really well done, and there are scenes where it almost looks like the camera is on the chest of Kong or on his arm as he's following through. I mean, it was very well done. I thought it was very spectacular. I just could do without the human stuff. The humans bring me down, man.
That's pretty much always the case, though.
I know, but like, you know, whatever.
But yeah, you can't just have.
You cared about those characters.
You know, it would be interesting if they ever tried to make a monster movie with no human characters.
I would be interested.
A movie like this.
One of the big problems I had with King of the Monsters, besides the fact that like the human motivations are like, I don't even understand why anyone's doing anything in this movie, is that they're like jerking you around from like this person to this person to this person to this person to this person. Like, why should I care about any of these people? I don't spend enough time with any of them to care about them. Yeah. You know, at least in this, it was a little bit more limited, although you still have this problem of there's like several different groups in several different locations.
Yeah, like I said,
several little subplots.
Quest, yep.
That you're kind of expected to keep track of for what it's worth.
But you never feel that they're in danger. You never feel that, you know, somehow Madison's going to put herself in a predicament.
You know what was really fascinating to me is how they kept those two groups separated through the whole of the movie. It's like they were starring in their own separate film. I was so giddy at the end of it, I don't even remember. Did the characters ever meet? Did Madison and Josh and Bernie ever meet up with Dr. Lind? And I don't think they did.
I don't think
they never did.
No, they didn't.
They never interacted.
No, she got reunited with her dad, who somehow fantastically made it from Pensacola to Hong Kong in a matter of minutes.
Hey, he took the Apex shuttle. That's what he did.
Apparently, yeah. Well,
so what kind of buckets would we give this? I'm going to go 4.5. I loved it. My expectations were met. The battles were awesome.
I love that you could listen. 4.5 is a monstrous for you.
It is.
That's huge.
And I'm still giddy about watching it. And it's
there you go.
Of the 3 Godzilla films, it is my favorite. But having said that, I don't think it's a Godzilla film. It's a Kong film.
It is a Kong centric, yeah. For the fight scenes alone, I'll give it a 4.5. The fight scenes, again, spectacular, but the nonsensical fillers a 2.5. So balance it out, 3.5.
That's funny that you say that, because like Christina was saying, I think that the previous one was more nonsensical.
Whatever
Love
reason.
the monsters.
Yeah.
Love the monsters in that, but the human
Tywin
level of this
Lannister
story
brought me
was
in,
better.
I guess. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. So for me, Kong Skull Island is like a 4 3/4,
Uh-huh.
and King of the Monsters was like a 2. So this was way better than King of the Monsters, but not as good as Skull Island. So I'll say like 3.5.
Okay, which is,
You know,
that's pretty solid for you.
yeah. And we all enjoyed it, all 3 of us. So I feel like I would watch it again. That
Yeah. I feel that I need to watch it again. And people were like laughing at me that I took the day off to go see this in the theater. And I'm like, this is a movie. I can't go to someone's house and watch this on HBO Max. I know, Jim, you had the opportunity to watch it on HBO Max.
There's no way.
No way, right? You need to see this on the big screen.
And
I
I'm
needed
so
to see it
glad
on
that
the
I
big
did.
screen.
You know, it's
Yeah.
tempting to stay
No.
home and just watch it and not.
But I
pay
do
the-
want to rewatch it again and maybe reevaluate. Maybe I just had I don't know. I'm not used to traffic in White Plains. Maybe I was just cranky. Maybe the bucket of popcorn thing just threw me off. But yeah, I just kind of, and like I said, people are like, oh, what'd you think? And you're just like, yeah, that's how we start all my sentences.
I mean, I will say it was nice, no matter what, to just go and see a big dumb movie
Yes, yeah.
on the big screen.
Agreed.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yep.
All right, having said that, let's leave the theater, go to the concession stand, and come back for Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein.
Oh, I'm excited for this. Let's go.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're happy to announce that we've installed Burns-O-Matic in-car heaters for your comfort and pleasure. When you receive your heater, you'll find it very easy to place in your car. Just roll down your front window and rest the heater's bracket on the window with the cylinder on the outside of the car. Roll up your window securely as far as it will go to hold the heater firmly in position. For maximum results, tilt the face of the heater towards the windshield and sit back and enjoy the show in healthful comfort. With these modern, safe, efficient in-car heaters, this drive-in theater will now remain open all year round, regardless of the weather.
Okay, we are back. And it's very rare that we do a movie this vintage on this show. I don't know if we've done one. Maybe King Kong. Yeah, we did King Kong, the original.
Oh, 33.
Kong. So that
yeah,
was
you're
30s.
right. Yeah. This is not far behind, though.
Jeff, I know this is near and dear to you.
You know, it's funny. I just mentioned that Godzilla is my spirit animal, but there's a good chance that Lou Costello is my spirit animal as well. Yes, I love these movies to no end. And we talked about the fact that every Sunday on PIX, WPIX, Channel 11 out of New York, you know, they would run these. And I love them to no end. And I chuckled at all the stupid jokes and all. Every time he barked at the lady's mink, I lost. It's just, it takes me back to being like a 4-year-old. And I think that that's what you need. Yeah, I just, you know, I was happy to watch this again, and I've seen it numerous times. And I know, Christina, you have the box set, right?
Yeah.
So what is that, the Universal Monsters?
No, it's just all the Abbott and Costello meeting the monsters movies. It's not
Okay.
even like a box set per se. It's just like a multi-disc.
Because we'll get into it on the
Thing.
back end, but they've met pretty much everybody in that realm.
Everybody except the creature, but Jeff, you said they did that on
They
their
did
TV
that.
show.
They actually did that. NBC Colgate. Hold on one second. Let me go to my notes. It was 1954 NBC Colgate Comedy Hour. It was a live television show, and Gilman showed up. So obviously that was a couple years after this movie. So, but
Yeah. And
yes.
I wouldn't really call it a Universal monster movie. Like the first 2/3 of it is an Abbott and Costello movie.
Oh, correct.
And then like the last 20 minutes, it's a Universal monster movie where they're like scampering around trying to get rid of the monsters.
Right.
You know, the tone of it really shifts, even though you still have some of those like Abbott and Costello gags. But the last like 20 minutes or so, it's like that's a Universal movie. And the first 2/3 of it is really an Abbott and Costello movie with like all the Abbott and Costello kind of gags.
Which is right, which is what you want. If you're showing up for this movie, you want to see the two main characters. I feel like every movie Bud Abbott just plays a chick.
Are they always Chick and Wilbur, or is it
No.
Chick and whoever Costello
Yeah,
is
no,
playing?
I think that Chick is his name no matter where he goes. But he's a jerk. He's so mean to Costello. And he just browbeats him the entire Wilbur.
Yes.
Wilbur.
But that's kind of the straight man's job, is it not?
I get it.
You've got
Listen, these
Laurel
guys
and
came out of
Hardy, they do the
vaudeville,
same
correct?
thing.
But
Moe and the Three
I'll
Stooges.
always relate to Lou Costello more so than Bud Abbott by any means.
But you gotta admire the straight man, though. You know that he's giving all the laughs
Oh,
to
hell yeah.
Lou Costello.
I agree.
But,
yeah.
but he wouldn't be Costello without Abbott. You know, he needs the straight man at the same time. So I salute the straight man for not being as funny, not being the showboat, but being integral to the plot. But as you said, because I've said it many times that I was a child of 70s television, and the Abbott and Costello showings on WPIX on Sundays were a big, big part of that. And these are very kid-friendly movies, very child-level humor going on here. But, you know, you laugh at it I laughed just as much as I did when I was a kid.
Yeah.
But kids love this. My son watched it with me.
That's good.
And
yeah.
he laughed out loud
That's
several
good.
times,
That's
more
good.
than I
mean,
did.
Yeah, when you're talking like a 70-year-old TV show or a movie that still has the power to make a kid laugh, then you know what? You're doing something right.
They talk about this on some of the bonus features of the disc that I got out from the library, that this is a gateway for a lot of people that ended up loving horror films, because this is a nice transition from that kid-friendly level. And as Christina was saying, through the movie, it brings you from that kid-centric humor into the world of the Universal monsters.
Yeah.
So it is very much a gateway.
They were on the outs when this came in anyways, right? We talked a little bit about this last week, that this was well past their heyday. The Universal monster.
The 30s heyday of the Universal. They were still making movies into the 40s, yes, but they didn't have, I think, the cachet that they did culturally, that they did in the 30s when they were all the rage.
So were they ripe for being poked fun at? I don't think they poked fun at them, no. I mean, they take them seriously. They're really the monsters. I mean, except for Boris Karloff, did he have something better to do that day? Didn't want to show up as a monster?
I love the Wolfman's my favorite one.
Yeah,
so I was happy to see Lon Chaney Jr.
He's very funny in this. Lon Chaney is very funny in this. And I love the line where he says, you know, I turn into a wolf when the moon is full, you and 20 million other guys. And
right. Meanwhile, I think he turned 3 times. It was like 3 nights in a row was a full moon.
They take the monsters very seriously. And Karloff, I think, shied away. Not only had he given up the role for many years and he was older, but I think from what I understand, reading and watching some of these documentaries, that he was afraid that they were poking fun and he didn't want to take part in that.
Well, he stepped in too late, because they did do an Abbott and Costello Meet the Killer, Boris Karloff, in 49. So at some point he said, I should have jumped on board.
I don't remember that one. Did he actually play himself as a murderer?
Yeah, I don't think that they would. I don't know if they would cast somebody else as Boris Karloff.
The killer.
I did read that Lou Costello did not want to make this, and they had to throw some extra money at him. I don't know.
He's quoted as saying when he first read the script that his 5-year-old daughter could have written something better.
Okay, I guess I like 5-year-old people work.
It's not like he's laboriously acting here. He's very funny in this.
He's doing what he does in every movie. He carries this damn thing.
Yes.
He's like, oh, chick, oh, chick. Yes, Lou Costello, man, genius.
So do we need to rehash the plot? They play bag handlers.
Yeah, bag handlers
at a train station, right? That's what they're.
Yeah, apparently.
They get 2 big crates for McDougal's House of Horrors.
That was a house of horror, by the way, when you walked in there.
It was.
All those wax dummies. Yeah.
So McDougal has ordered these relics from Europe, and Larry Talbot is tracking them from Europe. in between changing into the Wolfman.
And McDougal's pretty hostile, like kind of from the get-go. Like,
Yes.
he comes in with an attitude, and then throughout he decides that Wilbur is the author of all of his misery.
There's extended sight gags, and whenever Chick or Abbott comes into the room, Dracula goes back into his coffin.
Right.
And then Wilbur sees him again and does, the famous Chick, 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 and then Abbott comes in, and then
right.
Dracula's nowhere to be seen.
Yep.
And the whole bit with the candles sliding back and forth across the coffin as well.
Yeah, I mean, the joke is that only Wilbur sees the monsters
Correct.
until like 20 minutes before the end
put
of the movie.
I actually put a note that says, you're right. Does Chick actually see these things at some point? Her Wilbur's just insane.
And then poor Wilbur has this girl that's interested in
Sandra,
him.
and you know immediately she's got ulterior motives. You're like, right, even Chick's like, I don't get it. What does she like about you? Well, he's got a personality.
He does.
I would love to go out with Lou Costello.
There's one point where Chick says to Wilbur, you should look at yourself in the mirror sometime. And he says, why would I hurt my own feelings?
Right? Yeah, he's very self-deprecating.
And then there's the great scene where Larry Talbot calls the bag handling facility and turns into the Wolfman as he's on the phone. And Wilbur thinks get your dog off the phone. And he's barking back on at
Meanwhile,
the
he's calling from London. It's like, how long does it take to actually call from London to the States?
Well, you have to remember that people weren't really dialing. They were calling an exchange.
Yeah. But there's twice in this movie where the phone rings when they're in someone else's facility or house and they answer it. Why are you answering someone else's phone? I know there's no answer machines back in the day, but yeah. I will say that when Dracula first shows up, my wife sits up and she goes, he looks like Pee Wee Herman. And I couldn't get it out of my head for the rest of the time.
Bela Lugosi look like
Bela Lugosi looked like Pee Wee Herman. Listen, I know he's been getting on in years, but yes.
The fun fact that this is only the second time he played Dracula.
Which is crazy.
That's crazy. That is crazy.
Do you know what actor played the Dracula the most? Like the character of Dracula, not like a random vampire.
Christopher Lee?
Yeah.
There you go.
10 times Christopher Lee.
Hammer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Bela only twice.
Only twice.
Yeah, he's synonymous. He's synonymous with that character.
Well, I think he's just played vampires other than Dracula.
Really?
But not Dracula.
Huh.
Yep.
Yeah.
And other creepy characters
because
he was,
characters.
He had a career doing other things. He was in The Wolfman, actually.
Once again, he was rocking the mask long before the rest of us.
So now, Dracula's scheme in this is to use Frankenstein as his minion. So why
where did
Dracula would
get these electric powers?
I think he got them from Wakanda. Those little globes. Because they look very much like those things in Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
There you go. Jumpstart him. Yes, indeed. Can we just acknowledge the pants up to the nipple with the incredibly short tie? Like, I need to bring that back because I'm pretty sure I could rock that look.
Only if you wiggle your tie at the same time, like Laurel and Hardy.
There you go. Oh man.
So then we have another woman, Joan, who's also pulling at Wilbur's heartstrings.
Right.
So poor
she's
Wilbur,
the insurance investigator.
Yeah. So Chick's really like, what the hell is going on here now?
Yeah, he calls him the sawed-off Romeo.
Now listen, you little blimp, I'll let the air out of you.
So we find out that Sandra is so interested in Wilbur because she wants a docile brain to put into the Frankenstein monster to make him more controllable.
Correct. And can I just say this, except for the opening, which is in London, this whole thing takes place in Florida. Where the hell is there a castle in Florida that looks like that?
In Orlando.
Very convenient
that
there's a big creepy castle right nearby.
Yes.
And it's a little island.
Florida is well known for castles and their moats.
Guarded by alligators in the swamp of Florida.
Yes. And can we just acknowledge that apparently Chick and Wilbur lived together, or they were just staying in a hotel room?
They were staying in a hotel room,
but
I
were they staying in a hotel room?
Why they didn't go home? I mean, there's
why
so
were they
many
staying in a hotel? It's like, this is like straight up Bert and Ernie stuff.
They're transients. That's what they are. They just go from town to town.
They can't even afford a home because they work at the train station. Yes, smarted by a bunch of morons at one point, they said. And the castle set is pretty impressive.
It is, and there's a scene that you can tell that young Frankenstein, took hook, line, and sinker with the revolving wall.
Yep.
And that joke, that bit.
Yep.
And again, with the revolving wall, Dracula and the coffin and Frankenstein keep disappearing, so Chick never sees them.
Correct. Yeah.
Right, and the revolving wall gag is used in like a billion Scooby-Doo cartoons.
Yes, absolutely.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
To great effect, mind you.
Yes.
Zoinks!
We almost had a revolving wall in Falcon Winter Soldier as well.
Almost.
Yes. I was waiting for it. We go through a masquerade ball at some point before we.
He invites 2 women to the masquerade ball. Come on, dude. Apparently, he had like no gentleman skills whatsoever. Yeah, that was a little dubious.
So they end up in the castle because they want Wilbur's brain, and then there is the 3-way chase while Frankenstein's monster is chasing Chick and Wilbur around. Wolfman and Dracula are having an epic showdown, which is just them chasing each other from room to room.
Yes,
it's kind of like
right.
like the end of any Monkeys episode. Is pretty much the end
without the musical montage. Yeah. I will say though, at one point, Wilbur did say, "I've had this brain for 30 years." I'm like, wait, he's supposed to be 30 years old? Like, that's the most unbelievable thing I heard. No, I think he was 42 when he made this movie.
And there's a pretty serious, horrific scene where Frankenstein throws Sandra out the window.
Isn't Frankenstein's monster supposed to be afraid of fire, and yet he walks right into it?
But more importantly, Dracula is supposed to be able to control wolves, so why can't he control the Wolfman? Like, why is he throwing candlesticks at him?
Not only that, but when he bit Sandra, you could see his reflection in the mirror. What was up with that?
Now, wouldn't McDougal become the new Wolfman because he was attacked?
He was attacked. Did he have any physical scars on him?
He had a bandage around his neck because the Wolfman bit him.
You are true. That's exactly.
See, this demanded a sequel that we never got.
They completely set up a sequel.
With the Invisible Man?
Do you know who voiced the Invisible Man?
Yeah.
Of course.
Okay, well, I'm setting you up to give the answer. This is what we do on the show.
Anybody that's familiar with Michael Jackson's Thriller would know that voice, even without the face.
Yes.
But yes, Vincent Price voices the Invisible Man.
So, and they did do an Abbott and Costello Meet the Invisible Man in 1951, but I don't think Vincent Price played the character. They also met Jekyll and Hyde and the Mummy over the next couple of years, so they really milked this stuff.
But I have to say that as a kid, 2 of the most memorable film scenes that I have in my brain are the Wolfman grabbing the bat and jumping out into the ocean. With the waves crashing on the rocks below.
Yeah.
And then Frankenstein falling through the dock that's on fire.
This movie is banned in Finland. It was banned in Finland, and I don't know why.
I read that the Australian Film Board had to delete almost every single reference to a monster. What would you be left with?
There'd be nothing left. It would just be going, "Oh, chick, oh, chick." End. It was fun.
I'd like to know who sold McDougal, Frankenstein, and Dracula.
That is a good question. They're not wax statues; they're the physical people.
Maybe Dracula himself.
He's quite
just so he could get to the States.
Because he says
he had the plan in motion with Sandra.
But he says, "Where are my bodies?" Like, it's illegal to transport dead bodies.
They weren't dead, though. They weren't dead.
He thought they
There's
were.
Your loophole. There's your loophole. I did read that all 3 of these monsters would not show up on screen again until 2004's Van Helsing. And that's a sad state of, we're back and we're in a sucky movie.
Originally titled The Brain of Frankenstein.
What?
Which Universal balked at. That's what the script was called, but Universal balked because they said, that sounds like a horror movie. Nobody's going to know it's a comedy. So this was a big hit in the summer of 1948. The budget was around $800,000 and it made $3 million at the box office.
Wow, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys were cranking out movies every 2 years. And that was after probably their TV show. I used to watch that as well. I mentioned this a little bit last week, and I am going to reach out to the our listening audience because this is driving me nuts. There was an Abbott and Costello movie, or I remember it being an Abbott and Costello movie, in which Lou Costello played a ghost that lived in a wishing well. And I want to say it was around revolutionary times, to the point I love this movie, and to the point where Sweet's Little Willie is one of my favorite songs because it reminds me of this movie, and yet I can find no reference to it whatsoever. It does not exist as an Abbott and Costello movie, so I can only assume that maybe it's like a Bowery Boys, or I don't even think Laurel and Hardy, but at this point, every time I Google Ghost in a Wishing Well, I get Gordon Lightfoot. But his character's name was Willie, and he lived in a wishing well.
So somebody said here there's a movie called The Time of Their Lives, an Abbott and Costello movie about two colonials killed as traders who haunt an estate, not just a well,
Son of a
inherited by
bitch.
Bud Abbott's character.
And you found it in 2 seconds.
Also has a love story.
Am I using Google wrong? Thank you, audience.
What did you look up? Costello, wishing well. There it is.
Also has a love story between one ghost and the man who
Yes.
she loved, who waits for her in heaven. One's cleared via a letter found in a clock. Their souls are released. It's from 1946.
And what is it called? The Time of Their Lives?
The Time of Their Lives. Congratulations, you know what it is now. Okay, so I typed
apparently I should have just consulted you.
I typed in Ghost in a Wishing Well movie.
And
That's
not
what
even
I typed
Costello.
in, and I
Abbott
just
and
got
Costello.
Gordon Lightfoot lyrics.
Are you using Bing or something?
Ask Jeeves?
No.
I thought that butler knew what he was doing, but
No, I know
Girl.
you use Google. I was asking Jeff what kind of jakey search engine he was using.
can't believe that The Time of Their Lives, there it is.
Okay, well,
You
go
have
watch
just-
it
you
and
have
see if it's the one.
Well, you just explained it. That sounds exactly like what it is. How could it not be? Watch me watch it. I'm like, this is not it.
This is-
This is
What'll
not
end
it.
up happening
Yeah.
is that you've actually crossed like 2 or 3 movies in
Yes.
your
Well,
head.
it would have blown my mind if somehow I had just manifested this entire thing in my head. I'm like, wow, I must have been a genius as a kid coming up with this storyline. Of course, all you're going to hear is that, he's in a wishing well going, oh, chick, oh, chick. Go head down here, oh, chick. All right, you just, wow, that's awesome. Thank you.
We
You're
skipped
welcome.
we skipped buckets though. What would we get?
We did skip, but can you even give this movie buckets?
I don't think it's bucket proof. I don't think it's bucket proof.
Just for the nostalgia factor, I'll go a solid 4.
I would go 4 as well.
I went higher than Godzilla versus Kong. I can't believe this is even happening right here. Oh,
Yeah, it's a 3.5.
there you
It's
go.
fun. I mean,
It is fun.
there's nothing really offensive about it. I think
But there's
pretty much
nothing
everyone
offensive
who
about
watched
Evan
it,
Costello ever.
I think there's pretty much everyone who watches it enjoys it. My son also enjoys this, but my
There you
son
go.
also likes the Marx Brothers and Buster Keaton. So
As well as we all should. I mean,
Yeah.
you gotta know where the stuff comes from. I was very happy to rewatch this and pay my $3.99 on Amazon Prime. Do you know the opening animation and the animation where Dracula turns into a bat was done by Walter Lantz, animator of Woody Woodpecker?
Oh.
That's my little known fact right there. That's maybe the only little known fact I have, since everybody knew it was Vincent Price. that wasn't too hard to.
I mean, that's a gimme.
I know.
If
Yeah.
you ever heard Vincent Price's voice in anything,
Have we ever done a Vincent Price movie?
I don't think so. No.
I don't know, but I think we have to do House on Haunted Hill.
Oh, is that scary?
I mean, will it be
Listen,
scary to me or Jim?
No,
Probably
no. You're
not.
talking. No. Let's put this in Jeff context. Listen, I sat through Candyman, so you know what? We're all
You're gonna
good.
be okay.
I'm all good. Did see Vincent Price, The House of Wax, in 3D in the theater back in probably 90s.
In 1953?
1953, yes. I
Yep.
was still in the womb, and the womb with a view. No, I think it was re-released. Like 3D was big in like the late 80s, early 90s. There for a bit, they were releasing these movies.
A House on Haunted Hill is a William Castle movie. William Castle, known first of all for working with Vincent Price, and also for like his movie theater gimmicks. He was the guy with the Tingler.
Was he the Tingler?
Yeah.
He was the Tingler?
Oh.
Yeah,
Who came up with Smell-O-Vision?
I don't know who
That might
came
have
up with
been- that
Smell-O-Vision.
Did he have
That
anything?
might have been John Waters.
I suspect that he had something to do with It's Tough to Be a Bug as well, because those damn spikes that
Mhm.
shove into your back during that film. Now, I would like to nominate The Conqueror Worm. That's always been my favorite Vincent
Ooh,
Price.
those both sound scary.
Sounds like we have a Vincent
Let's do
Price
it. Let's
double
do it. Let's
feature
do it.
in the future.
Let's do a Price-a-thon. Apparently, we have to wait until July now for Black Widow, so we're gonna have
a lot of space to fill.
Yeah.
Speaking of Marvel, though, we have a third episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier on.
Let's
tap.
go. And this will be the very first time that Christina actually gets to chime in. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, and I was kind of surprised that neither of you mentioned that this is the first Marvel project that has a solo female director. I don't know.
Not this week.
No, Kari Skogland is the director of every episode.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, why did I? Okay. I'm sorry. Derek Kolstad wrote it, and he was the creator of John Wick. I got.
And there is a little John Wick moment. We're big fans of John Wick in this household, and
I have yet to watch a single movie.
Well, the scene where there's like the Insta bounty on everyone's phone.
Oh,
that's a John Wick moment right there. We were all like, oh, they just John Wicked it. Like
they wicked it. They wicked it.
Because that happens in John Wick. And it's like everybody is a bounty hunter in the John Wick universe.
I like to think of myself as a bounty hunter.
or an assassin or whatever. But yeah, I've been enjoying this quite a lot because they've been taking their time, like really getting to know the characters in a meaningful way. And I really, really like that. They still have action sequences, but it's not primarily the function of the show. Like the function of the show is really to explore where these characters are at.
Yeah. Mentally, yeah.
Post the Avengers films. And I've really been enjoying that. One thing I'm a little bit disappointed about is that I was hoping the John Walker character would not end up being a villain,
a jerk.
It seemed like it was too easy of a place to go to, and I was hoping that they could come to a place where you would not hate that character just for deciding to be Captain America.
Correct,
but like in this episode, like somebody spits on him and he says, "Do you know who I am?" And he punches the guy in the stomach. And it's like,
Here we go.
Steve Rogers would never have done that.
Yeah, unfortunately, because you do, like I said, in that second episode, they do make him likable, and you're like, all right, I like him, but it lasted all about 10 minutes because the minute he interacts with Sam and Bucky, you're like, all right, this guy's got a huge chip on his shoulder and he's a little bit of a jerk.
And you can understand like them, like their kind of hostility to each other.
Yeah. Oh, you completely agree.
That's understandable, but it's like when you get into these interactions with other people, and it's like now you're like, okay, well, he's just fundamentally not a good guy. Great, and that's not what you want.
No, but it's true to the comics series and this character who is a bit of a despicable character in the comics. And he's been around for a while, and he's had many different monikers, but yeah.
And the fact that Bucky is having a very hard time coming to terms with the fact that Sam gave up the shield. So Walker represents that. So they are, even if he was the greatest guy in the world, I think they wouldn't like him at this point. Our feelings are not with this John Walker character. And what's funny is the actor, I didn't write his name down for this show.
Kurt Russell's son.
Kurt Russell's son.
Wyatt Russell.
Is with Goldie Hawn?
Yes.
Goldie, wow.
Yeah. We didn't even pick up on that the first 2 episodes.
We did not. I am shocked that we didn't pick up on that. I was reading something online where he acknowledged the resemblance of him in the outfit to Carl Fredricksen.
I called it. And I'm wrong because I went back and there's 2 or 3 iterations of Captain America's suit where his ears are exposed. So it's not just the ears.
This guy's ears are sticking out. Like I think that
they probably
his
went
helmet
overboard to. Like you said before, they did it on purpose to kind of separate because he's a good-looking guy without the helmet on. Regardless, he's now a jerk. But episode 3, Power Broker, right?
But I was right last week. They break Zemo out and they have crazy adventures just
There you
like Lethal Weapon and Joe Pesci.
He's Joe Pesci.
Yeah.
Joe Pesci.
Couple things though. First of all, they went to Madripoor, so
Yes,
my
let's talk about Madripoor.
My husband was like, "Oh, the X-Men are in this universe. They're in Madripoor."
Yeah, Wolverine was he went by the name of Patch for years, and that was Madripoor was like his friggin' go-to place. I think the first 10 issues or whatever in his series, that's where he hung out.
So he was pretty excited about that. The other thing is, do we think maybe Sharon Carter's the power broker?
I absolutely put that in my notes that there's a good chance that she could, which I think if that's the case, will make Bucky question everything that Cap ever, he's already questioning Cap's decision to give the shield to Sam, and then Sam gives it up. And now if he finds out that Sharon is not this person who he thinks she is, and that she's friggin' just
seems like it's a possibility.
It could.
It is.
It absolutely
Although,
could be a possibility.
I think they're making too many pains to show that she's disgruntled, so maybe they're trying to throw a red herring.
I also had a thought that she was actually still working for the government, and she was just really deep undercover, and that she's sort of pretending to be disconnected from them.
She knew her Nagel was pretty quick in those containment.
We always have discussions about this in my house because we always liked Emily Van Camp as Agent 13, thought she was like good in that part. But unfortunately, the romance between her and Captain America was the least believable thing about their character because they had no chemistry.
No, correct.
They had like no personal chemistry. We're kind of like, just not feeling that. Whereas like when Chris Evans and Haley Atwell are on screen, like celluloid is on fire.
And that's why he went back to her.
But that's the thing, is that it was kind of icky, that whole idea of having
that she was like
Sharon and Steve Rogers.
Right.
But that's what happens in the comic. My son's read all the Ed Brubaker comics. And
but that don't make it right. Come on.
Screw you, Brubaker. You creepy bastard. Oh, man.
But I'm glad to see her back. She's like badass street fighter. She takes down like 10 guys by herself.
That's awesome. Yeah, that was great. It was a great reveal of the character. I will say that Zemo has become my favorite character in the show. He is just off the wall. And he's, Jim, you said last week that I hope it doesn't become a Silence of the Lambs or he's just, sitting in his cell. Nope, they break him out pretty quick. And then we find out that he's a rich guy. And it's like, all right, I'm a baron.
Yep.
And while you're in jail, none of your, assets are not locked down. And no, everything's just waiting for you. Take my plane and we're going to go to Madripoor.
So basically the reason that they're trying to track down the serum. And we know Zemo is an anti-vaxxer. He is not.
He is.
He is not down with this serum at all.
He's an anti-Bucky too. He can't wait to take Bucky. Oh, the minute he saw Bucky, he starts
spouting out those from the little journal.
Any chance he got, he's telling Sam, you can't trust this guy. He's gonna turn on you in a heartbeat. But the deadpan jokes, this character was fun. I like him a lot. We'll see how long he lasts.
Did you mention, we're talking about Madripoor, an Easter egg here where the Princess Bar is shown in the background, which is a haunt of Wolverine's.
Yeah.
So could he have been in there as they were walking by?
I don't know.
Who knows?
It won't be Jackman, I'll tell you that much.
No.
He said enough.
Then we also get those little Dracula balls at the end of the episode that Bucky finds, and he's like little breadcrumbs. And then who does he find that's been leaving these?
Yeah.
A Wakandan royal guard.
Yep.
Which makes perfect sense.
Io.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. It was Zemo that friggin' off to Chaka.
It's sort of interesting, though. It's almost like Bucky expected to see them, didn't he?
Well, he was there for a while.
I'm just wondering, like, if there's still some kind of connection between him and Wakanda,
I would like to think so. It's been mentioned both episodes now. Callbacks to the White Wolf and his time in Wakanda. So, yeah.
Like, well, yeah, he's got his arm is vibrating.
Yeah.
They gave him his arm.
That's true. Yep. And I doubt that she's alone.
Let's put that out there. It definitely felt like he expected
he wasn't shocked by
this
it,
communication.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, because they have Zemo. Because they were after him before this. in Civil War because they thought he killed the child.
Right.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. You know what's funny, Jim? Last week when we were talking about Carly, and I said she looks like the actress from Solo. It's the same actress. It's the same actress.
I was listening to you guys.
Yeah.
I was listening to the podcast going,
And
it's
you're
her.
like, it's her. That's why we need you back. I'm like, oh no, she's got freckles, she's got curly hair. She looks just like her. No, she is her. Idiots. Yes. Enfys Nest, she was the leader of the Cloud Riders. Yes.
Can't tell you how often I have talked back to you guys.
Hey, that's why you're on the show, right? She's like, oh, I need to straighten these guys out.
Christina has Google. We need her.
Yes. Apparently a much superior Google. I can't believe you friggin' found that movie. That blows my mind. I'm going upstairs and I'm watching it right now. I'm out. Bye. Click.
Yeah, I had a lot of things to say back to you guys the week you were doing Black Panther.
So were you happy that you missed out on Psycho Gorman?
Well, I mean, neither of you sounded super enthusiastic
No,
about
I
it.
liked it. I gave it higher marks than Jim did. For sure.
I mean, I do
More than
feel like
Wishmaster.
I missed the boat on Wishmaster, but you know, I can always go back and watch that one, I guess.
That is true. That is true.
So what are we doing next week?
That is a good question because I think we left it.
Here?
We are going to hash it out because I know for a fact that we're doing Thunder Force on Netflix with Melissa McCarthy and Octavia Spencer.
I watched the preview for that and I laughed so hard.
I just watched the preview for it, and I think that there's one movie that may work better than the others, but it's your go. So the two of you need to hash it out. The other three movies we were talking about, Megaforce, which is very inspired, by the way, Big Hero 6 and Hot Fuzz.
The reason I say Megaforce is because that was burned into my mind. It's probably the image of the poster is still in my retinas if you look at my eyes close enough because
it was on the back of comic books
so
for
many
like
times.
6 months, yeah.
Exactly, on the back of every comic I had.
Was that's not Chuck Norris though, right?
That is Barry Bostwick, I believe.
Barry Bostwick. Holy crap. Is that even available to watch?
Yes,
so
it is.
I just looked it up and it is available to watch, but the IMDb rating is 3.8 out of 10.
You see, that makes me want
that
makes me want to watch it even more.
Right.
But I think you should be fair to your co-host who's been ill for 2 weeks.
Oh, wow. Playing the injured cards. Here comes Dina with 3 broken legs.
Don't make me watch a movie that's ranked so low.
Well, we did talk about a Disney series, which Big Hero 6 could easily fall into.
But we know we're going to love both of these movies. Remember Condor Man? How fondly we remember that episode?
Is anybody out there fond of our review of Condor Man?
I mean, they might be fond of our review of it.
Yes. I'm sure that they are. It's one of our highlights. If we had a resume, I think I'd put Condor Man episode on the resume.
Listening to me complain
Man.
about it for half an hour.
Listen, that's half the fun of this show, is that when we don't all agree.
Actually,
we all agreed it was bad.
The thing I remember most about the Condor Man episode is that at the beginning I said, I don't remember which one of you suggested this, and Jeff threw Jim under the bus.
Well, damn straight. I had never seen it before. I'm not taking a blame for that.
Jeff was like, it was Jim. It was Jim.
I will gladly take credit for that. So no, I will watch Big Hero 6. Big Hero 6 was actually the first film my son ever saw in the theater. Really? So it has a special meaning to me. But I am not letting either of you off the hook in the future for anything that is lower than a 3 or a 2 or a 1 on Rotten Tomatoes.
Do you know, I'm on Facebook right now and I'm arguing the merits of Speed Racer. This girl posted on one of our I don't know what group it is. And she's like, my boyfriend just suggested this and he says it's a great movie. I think it's horrible. What do you think? Oh, it was a Joe Bob Briggs. It's a Joe Bob Briggs Facebook page. And there's a fair amount of people who agree with me that it's freaking genius. Ahead of its time. So don't worry. That will be coming up soon.
All right.
As well. So are we going Big Hero 6?
I am fine. I am fine with Big Hero 6.
Thunder Force, Big Hero 6. I do believe I have that on disc.
Well,
it's on Disney Plus.
Disney Plus.
It's on Disney Plus. I don't even have to break out the disc.
Yeah.
There you
go. So there you have it.
I forget I pay for the service now.
A glimpse
go.
behind our storied curtain here. At
You know, we
TMI.
actually held off on our confessional from about 8 weeks ago. Our top 5 Marvel movies. So at some point, maybe at the tail end of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, we hit on that.
Or
Yeah.
we wait until Black Widow comes out, and then
That's like 5 years from now.
it's 5 years from now. Yeah. Hey, who knows? It might figure in to our top 5 after we see it. Who knows?
Oh, could be. Oh, you know what? Let's do that. Let's hold off. This could be the movie we've been waiting for. Taskmaster's in it. All right. Listen, I'm happy to have all 3 of us back.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
always,
Yes.
always,
Stay this
always.
way.
Yes, it's always much better to have 3 of us, except Jen and I, and listening while she's jogging, screaming at us. Now you're on tape. Let me yell at you on microphone. Thank you for your Google. Apparently, it's much superior to my Google.
All right. So thank you for listening.
Yes,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Always a pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy your evening.
Yeah.
There you go.
Watch Godzilla versus Kong.
Yes. See it for yourself. Make your own opinion. Don't listen to me. I'm just a grumpy old man. All right, we're out.
Bye.
Bye.
Hello, everybody. If you liked the podcast you just heard, then please follow TMI on all of our social media outlets. First and foremost, email us at tmipodcast2018@gmail.com. That is tmipodcast2018@gmail.com.
And you can follow us on Twitter at TMI_podcast2018. Stop over, say hi, give us a compliment. We'd love to hear from you.
Awesome. Make sure you follow us on Instagram as well, which is also TMI_podcast2018.
And of course, we are on Facebook, facebook.com/TMI Podcast 2018. And it should be noted, we also have a community page, so join the forum.
And if you like to watch YouTube, you can see us at TMI Podcast 2018, all one word. Look for the popcorn bucket.
Popcorn bucket. Or you could just go to our website, which has every link there, TMIconfessionalspodcast.com. And we'll see you at the concession stand.
We'll save some popcorn for you.
Oh, chick. Oh, chick.